Hijab Row. What the hell is this, Anuj? Listen, this is a really tough thing to talk about. Not necessarily for me, it's a tough thing to talk about, but it's a tough thing to talk about because it's really sad about what's going on here in India. And I know I'm Indian American. Like, the grand rule is like, don't touch Indian politics because you're going to get some auntie pissed off. But like, honestly, I don't care. So I really want to talk about this because it's a story that's like hit close for me. And I've done a lot of thinking on it. And I've done a lot of reading on it. And I really want to share with you guys what's been going on here. So what is Hijab Row? Okay, let me explain the situation that's going on right now in India, particularly in southern India. So this is something that's taking place in Karnataka, which is coincidentally the state that my parents are from. They're from a city called Bangalore, which is in Karnataka. It's the capital of the state. And it's a state in southern India. And so basically what's happening is that the state has a lot of government-run high schools and colleges, and basically they have stated and gone on the record and said that they cannot wear, that Muslim girl students cannot wear the hijab. That is banned in these schools. And a lot of these practices are stemming from this very right-winged party that controls a majority of India, known as the BJP, or the Bharat Natya. I cannot pronounce it. I apologize. But it's known as the BJP. There's a full name for it, something party, and it's known as a very right-wing Hindu traditionalist party, Hindu nationalist. Some people have gone on the record and said it definitely has sort of these Hindu undertones to it, for sure. But there are a lot of Muslim activists in India that are saying that it's impinging on their right to practice whatever religion they please, which is true. It is. It is inhibiting religious freedom. And considering India has a secular, is known publicly as a secular constitution, Narendra Modi and other prime ministers have publicly admitted that it is a secular country. This is obviously a red flag that's going on, right? Okay, let me go deeper into detail here. The BJP sort of rules over Karnataka, right? It's the majority party in India, but it absolutely rules over Karnataka, because I believe 86% of the population in this state in southern India is Hindu. And then there's like 13% of people that are Muslim. So Muslims are a pretty slim minority here in this state. And throughout the state, like I've mentioned, in the last week, a lot of Muslim girls have been prevented from entering schools, and it's been a critical exam week, which is kind of what makes this a big national storyline. So a lot of these exams are taking place, and in India, for those of you that know, that have Indian parents and Indian parents who are listening to this, like, you guys know how important exams are to the school culture. Like, they mean your whole grade, all of these things, and it's a critical, I believe it's some governmental exam week. I don't know exactly what that exam is. But this is kind of how it all started. There was a huge test for these government high schools in India, and a lot of the ladies that were walking into these government high schools and colleges were told, like, listen, you can either remove the hijab or you can't take the test. And to credit to these ladies, they said, fuck you, I'm not removing my hijab, and they walked out. They said, hell no. And they didn't take the test, and they sacrificed their futures basically for, to keep their religious freedom and to defend the rights of their own religious freedom. And sort of what happened was these videos start circulating around India, WhatsApp and Facebook, of these girls basically protesting outside the school. And what happened was that Hindu students got pissed. And, in Karnataka in particular, it's known for having a lot of Hindu students a lot of Hindus follow this philosophy called Hindutava. I'm not saying everybody, but there is a significant hotbed in Karnataka because of the huge Hindu majority population that I was talking about that subscribe to this philosophy called Hindutava, which is a philosophy that a lot of Hindu fundamentalists go with. And it's sort of, saying Hinduism overall, and like Hinduism is the superior religion, sort of encouraging all of these sort of ideas. And I mean, unfortunately, and these Hindu students have began counter protests around the state of them wearing saffron, which is the color of the BJP party, also one of the colors that represents Hinduism, and basically chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, or Hare Ram, or something like that. Different religious chants. I know Hare Krishna, Hare Ram was one of them. And the Muslim students are chanting back Allahu Akbar. And so it's basically been this huge fight between Hindu and Muslim. And the whole scandal has gotten so bad. It's happened in multiple high schools throughout Karnataka. It's gotten so bad that there was a 3-day shutdown of all high schools and colleges that are public in Karnataka. Pretty crazy stuff. And also, there's been an uptick of violence and bullying for these girls wearing hijabs. A lot of Hindu guys tend to be Hindu men, like shoving them, beating them up, all of these things. So it's been a lot of roughhousing and stuff going on, and it's been pretty bad. So, like, in terms of what's going on, like, who is the face of this whole thing? It's this woman by the name of Muskan Khan. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it right. But her name is Muskan Khan. She's 19 years old. And she was the first video to really go viral around India. And there was a video of Hindu men sort of charging at her, yelling Jai Shri Ram, like I was saying, one of the religious chants, and she being taken away by the college authorities and authorities themselves, basically, yelling back and basically being dragged out of the school for, wearing her hijab and all of these things. And it's just really sad, dude. Like, as an Indian American, as someone who like thinks that here in America, at least, we've come decently far when it comes to like the Hindu Muslim generation, like our generation of like Hindu versus Muslim. Like, I feel like we've come relatively far comparatively to like, where we were way back in where our parents' generation was in terms of this Hindu Muslim divide. Clearly, that generation in India has not, because there's this guy by the name of Narendra Modi. Okay. And I have to take it to Modi. Listen, Narendra Modi, and I'm going to kind of go on a little bit of a Narendra Modi rant here. Narendra Modi is the head of the BJP, which is the big, right-winged sort of Hindu, quote-unquote Hindu party. I believe it is a Hindu party, a Hindu nationalist party, but other people, take that term, feel offended by that term, and I disagree with them, but that's neither here nor there right now. Narendra Modi is probably, the way I describe Narendra Modi is he's Donald Trump on steroids and like 5 shots of espresso coupled with like a couple lines of cocaine. He is the worst, way worse version than Donald Trump. Okay. And the saddest part is it's not like, we know as Americans, not like the majority of people don't support Donald Trump. Right? They're very much like, oh, like he's weird and like he's a terrible person, he's creepy and all this stuff. There's just this really loud minority of people who are like, Trump 2024, he won the election in 2020, recount the votes, right? Like it's just this cracked out, like very like spread out different minorities throughout the country. There are a lot of Trump supporters. Obviously, not all Trump supporters are cracked out. It's more nuanced than that. There's some, very reasonable Trump supporters who are willing to have a debate and converse with you. And I know a few of them, and they're not all like that. But there are a lot of like Donald Trump supporters that are very vocal and kind of like that. The thing is, in India, in America, they're the minority. In India, they're the majority. There's a lot of people like that who are cracked out and who are big BJP supporters because, number one, Narendra Modi's Hindu, and India's 80% Hindu. Number two, Narendra Modi has put into place like economic measures to help the poor, and he's got a really good story because he's kind of come up from this very lowly life of like, he grew up very poor, and now he's kind of the working man's representative, so to speak. That's how they view him in India. And the BJP is sort of, like I said, it's a 80 million times worse version of the Republican Party. And it's really, really bad. And I kind of see this hypocrisy here in America with a lot of aunties and uncles, because there are a lot of aunties and uncles that are very pro BJP, but they're very anti Donald Trump. And I have a theory for this. I think it's cool to hate on Donald Trump here in America. In a lot of circles, it's very cool to hate on Trump. Hollywood hates on Trump. Pop culture hates on Trump. Rappers hate on Trump. Musicians hate on Trump. Artists hate on Trump. Everybody hates on Trump, right? It's kind of like the cool thing. In India, it's cool to love Modi. You love Modi. Oh, Bollywood loves Modi. Oh, Modi's posing for pictures with Hrithik Roshan. Oh, Modi, yes. Like, Modi is God. Like people are praying to him like he's a Hindu idol. Like what the fuck? Like, do you understand like the hypocrisy here? It's like with people here in this country, like people like my aunties and my uncles and my parents are not Modi supporters, but like other people who are around my parents' age, they like Narendra Modi because all of their relatives are telling them in India that like Modi's amazing, like Howdy Modi, all of these things, right? And then you have and then in America, like they hate Trump. They're like, these are the same people that are like, this goddamn Trump, man. And you're like, dude, you love Narendra Modi, bro. What the fuck, Raju uncle? Like, dude, like it's the same shit. It's completely hypocritical. And it's really, really funny. Um, and it's sad. It's sad because there's been several actions done by the BJP, that the introduction of the Ram temple, there was a whole controversy with that I haven't done enough research into. Now this stuff with Hijab Row, Narendra Modi has not commented on this whole countrywide protest, by the way. Zero comments from Narendra Modi about this whole situation. He's kept his mouth shut, which I mean should tell you more than enough that there are being Muslim girls who are being denied an education because of the fact that they can't wear their hijabs, which is written in the Constitution of India, like you have your right to religious freedom. So, and Narendra Modi has been known to invoke on Muslim rights. There's been a heavy increase of Hindu-Muslim attacks. This is just Hindu-Muslim chapter infinity. This shit is happening, and it's being encouraged by people of the BJP like Narendra Modi, right? And the sad part is there's going to be an election in 2024. Guess what? Narendra Modi's probably going to win. Why? Because there's no competent candidate to run against him. There's this other guy by the name of Rahul Gandhi who owns the Congress Party, right? Rahul Gandhi, he doesn't own the Congress Party, but he's kind of like one of the big guys in the Congress Party. The Congress Party, if you look at it like as if a white person were to look at the Congress Party and just read their definition online, they would be like, oh, that's like the Democrats. Why don't more young people vote for the Congress Party? Well, I'll tell you why. The Congress Party is super corrupt. It's filled with its own levels of controversy, and it's dominated by the political family. So Rahul Gandhi is the what is it? Is he okay? Oh man, fuck! I forget all of this, but he's related to the same political family as Jawaharlal Nehru, whose daughter was Indira Gandhi, whose son was Rajiv Gandhi, and his father and Rahul Gandhi's father is Rajiv Gandhi. Yeah, my bad. Okay, I got through it. But it's a political family. It's been dominated by a political family for years. It's like the Kennedys of India, and it's corrupt, and it's filled with all sorts of these things, and no one wants to vote for them. And Rahul Gandhi also is a completely inept politician. He said some very crazy things on the record, and like you talk to aunties, because I think aunties are the best people to talk to when it comes to politics, uncles, all of that, because they'll tell you like what the people are really thinking. And they look at you and they're like, Rahul Gandhi's a complete idiot. Why would anyone want to vote for him? And you look at 3 video clips of him and you're like, oh, goddamn. Like, I guess this guy really is stupid. And he's supposed to be representing this sort of new hope progressive chapter for India. So you have that running against Modi. You have a couple other people. You have this guy, Yogi Adityanath, who's a Hindu monk. And he's even pretty much arguably more than a nationalist than Modi. And you have a couple other candidates who are like getting 3% of the vote and who most likely aren't going to win. That's the vibe right now. That is the vibe. It's sad. It's pathetic and it's sad. And that's the vibe that India is in. And a lot of young people are voting for Narendra Modi. Why? Because it's a Hindu majority country. And a lot of Hindu young millennials are like, oh, Narendra Modi has done so good for this. He's protecting our values. So here you go. Here you go, because India's GDP has gone up during Modi's presidency, right? And America's economy rose with Donald Trump. There's so many parallels between these two. And I didn't mean to turn this into like this whole rant, right? I don't want to take away from Hijab Row, because Hijab Row, let's bring it back. There's no real analysis that I can provide you about this issue other than the fact that it's fucked up. And other than the fact that I'm probably going to get taken down on TikTok and Instagram, because there are a lot of Indian people on these apps that are looking for people who are anti-Modi, and they report you. It's, that's the truth. And I'll probably get some DMs from aunties and relatives in India telling me to take it down, telling me that Narendra Modi is some, saint and all of this stuff. He's not. Narendra Modi's not. Let's not get it twisted here. Narendra Modi's a terrible person. He's a bad politician. And he is kind of the same way of Donald Trump. There's no analysis that I could provide you other than the fact that this is a political mess. You think the United States is a mess? Go to India and look at their politics. I do 10 minutes of research and you'll come out of that confused. Go watch the news in India. I forget her name, Savita something, but they literally yell. They yell at each other. It's like, do you think Don Lemon is a lot of interrupting, with like the 8 people panels? India's the same way, bro. It's the same freaking way. And why is this all important? Why is Hijab Row important? Why is Narendra Modi important? Because India is amongst one of the world's most powerful economies. It's one of the biggest, it's going to be the biggest country in the world by 2030, I think, or if it's not the biggest already. They're becoming a world power, and you have another dysfunctional leader, right? Russia's got Putin, North Korea's got Kim Jong-un, fucking every country, all the powerful countries have dysfunctional leaders. And you have to add another one to the picture, Narendra Modi. And he's not going anywhere because, like I said, there's no one to run against this dude. And India's political approach of Hindu nationalism is going to be very interesting to see how it expands to its relationships throughout the world. And I really do actually want to get some auntie and uncle perspectives of people who support, Narendra Modi and all of these things, because I would be very interested. I talked to my parents a little bit about this, and they had absolutely no clue that Hijab Row was even happening in their own home state of Karnataka, which is sad in itself because clearly international news doesn't make the rounds to America, because this is a huge deal. It's an absolutely massive deal. And in terms of Hijab Row, like, there's nothing that we can necessarily do right now. There's nothing I can necessarily talk about, because you have to wait for this decision from the Karnataka High Court to come out, because we really don't know how this whole thing's going to play out. Now there's a lot of protesting. There's very, very little coverage happening in the American and in the regular media. So I hope y'all talk about this and make this an important issue, because it really is. This issue is fucking important. Whether you like it or not, people's religious freedoms are being inhibited in another country. I don't know what to tell you if this isn't important. Y'all claim that, we claim in America that we are the most well-educated nation and we know everything that's going on. We don't know what the fuck is happening in a country, in one of the biggest countries in the world, that there's literally girls that are protesting in the streets and getting beat up by Hindu nationalist men who are being encouraged by the leader of this country. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to tell you. I think the best thing that we can do is educate ourselves, which is what I'm trying to do here. This is what we're trying to do with Hijab Row. This is what we're trying to do with the Chengabi show. Yes, we can have fun sometimes, right? We can have a good time and talk about all of these things, but I want to break this down for you as like a layman's terms. I don't want to make this hard. I want to kind of break it down in a rant and in an argument fashion, because I think this is the best way people learn. I think breaking it down with simple language and simple things is how people learn. But that's all I have for Hijab Row right now. And I will definitely keep updating you guys as to stuff is happening. But that's all I have for the show too. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys are here still at this point, credit to you. Shout out. This was a really fun episode to film. Very sad because, this Hijab Row stuff does mean something, because it really is happening in sort of my parents' home state. And it's very concerning for the future of the country. But listen, I like to be, positively balanced. I like to be a balanced optimist. So we're going to, hopefully, we can end on a positive note and say that, like, it's great that there are Muslim women who are out there fighting this fight right now, so that maybe in 30 years we have a secular country in India, hopefully, right? Or a more secular country than it is now. But thank you guys so much.